What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on these analysis. We're going to be looking at MSTR and Bitcoin today. We're going to be looking at a couple indicators as well. So we have our long-term trend line that's been established in the bottom of this channel, looking very good. Got a strong bounce off of it, and we're still having that resistance here at this golden zone that we've been speaking about continuously. Let's see if we finally break through it. We've been kind of just chopping for the past 2 weeks or week and a half, whatever, inside of here. Let's see if we finally break out. Today was a pretty solid day. Nice little engulfing candle. Let's see where this thing takes us though. When you take a look here at the weekly, we are looking good as we had a close down to 399, then we opened down a little bit at 392, and now we're currently sitting at 413. Let's see if we can get a close above this 424 region, close, retest this zone, and push up higher. So ideally we want to see something above here and bounce off of here. I do think the next level of resistance that we may get is this 450 region. That's why we have this drawn out here around 445 to 437. Might get a slight bit of resistance, but I don't think it's going to be as much resistance as we've been seeing in this zone here. So we'll see how it goes. Of course, with Bitcoin potentially breaking out, it might blast right through this zone, and then we can see all-time highs pretty soon. We'll see how Bitcoin reacts at all-time highs and at this next zone that it's potentially going to break out of. Let me take a fib off of this most recent leg. This is still a very bullish move. As you can see, we haven't even touched the 236. We came pretty close, but we didn't touch it, and we're already shooting back up to try to break this local high here. So as you go further down these down the sequences, it gets more bearish as you go. You know, this is pretty much the last bullish zone, and then it just gets super bearish down here. But this is bullish, and then it just gets more bearish as you go up. So it goes to show that this move is extremely strong. We need some kind of pullback when you think about it. I mean, look how high up this move was. I think it's like 80-something%. Let's see. Yeah, I pulled up to 82, 83%, and then a minor pullback. So this is healthy for the trend to continue in the direction that we want to see. So I think we should be moving up higher relatively soon. We're above our 20-week SMA, which is what we want to see. We got our bounce off our 50, which is perfect, and we're moving up. And here on the daily SMAs, we made it all the way back to our 20-day SMA, which was acting as support, along with the bottom of this golden zone. So things are looking very good. You have confluence together to push price up higher. And on the 4-hour, we fell underneath our 20, and now we're back above. So that's looking very good. Close above, retest. Let's see where it goes from here. Hopefully up. On the weekly Bollinger Band, we made it to the top. We played around here a little bit, got rejected, and now we're pushing back up to try and continue hugging the red band as we make our way to the top of this channel. And here on the daily Bollinger Bands, we made a move all the way up, and we got our bounce off the blue band, and now we're trying to make our way back to the red band as well. On the weekly RSI, we're looking good. Got a minor pullback, but that's very healthy for the strength of price. And now it looks like we're trying to push back up and eventually break this local high and make it to that 70 region that we keep talking about, where we hit that overbought territory, and then we can start seeing some large momentum push into Microstrategy. But that's, of course, depending on Bitcoin's movement. So we have a head and shoulders here on the daily RSI. As you can see, we pushed down. It looks like we met the target and potentially making a V-shaped recovery. We do have a little bit of resistance here at this yellow moving average, but let's see if we can break, get a retest off of it, and make our way back to that overbought territory. On the weekly, we're still looking good. We have our blue crossing the orange, and we're starting to see volume tick up little by little. It's not too much. Momentum's kind of building up, but we haven't seen anything exponential yet. And here on the daily, we're starting to create a bearish move, but let's see if this can flip back around and get this blue to curl back up and overtake the orange and see this flip green and push up higher. When we take a look here at Bitcoin, you can see we made it to the top of this range, looking very good. We got the highest close on the weekly that we've seen in Bitcoin's history at around 106.5, super bullish, closing within these candles, these wicks. So that's a very, very bullish sign. And now it's already looking very bullish. As you can see, we had this engulfing candle here. We broke out of this downward sloping trend line and we got a massive retest and pushing back up. So let's see how this day ends. Hopefully it turns into a green candle. That would be the ultimate bullish sign that we could see right now. But if it stays around in this region, I still think that's still bullish. But ideally, a green candle would be very, very bullish, and we'd be ready to break all-time highs relatively soon. This is what we had here on the 4-hour. Price action was a little funny, so we had our downward sloping trend line off of this bull flag here, and we were trending downward. We broke out, and we had this weird price action where engulfing up, engulfing down, engulfing up, and engulfing right back into the downward sloping trend line, and then right back outside of it. And now we're playing above it. So this is typically don't see it like that too often, but you typically do see a breakout and a retrace. So you know where the breakout is, but not something like this. Well, this is looking very bullish though overall. And if you were to take the measured target, it could potentially land somewhere in this region if you were to take this bull flag, measure it out. Maybe we're sitting at 115 for this next leg up, but we'll see. On a weekly basis, I do think it's good that we saw a nice red candle push down and get rejected back up, or a push back up, because if you can start the week in this direction and get pushed all the way back to a green candle, I feel like that's going to fuel momentum to the upside, and we can kind of just rock it up from there. So we'll see where things take us, of course. It's still early on. We're still only in May. But let's see if we get a nice, 2 or 3 months of bullish momentum. Hopefully we can see something like this where we get, a rally from October all the way out to December, like a nice little 2-month, 3-month move, take us out to June or July, maybe early August. Then we get some kind of pullback. We have these Fibonacci's that we've been drawing out. So this first one, kind of chopped here at the 1618. We made it past it, but that's really the price magnet right here. If you can see 63,000, that's kind of where price was just bouncing around. So when you move it to the next one, if you take that, 1618 was right here in the middle of where price was, I would say, the average. We went above it and back below. And if you take it to this most recent leg, the 1618 would line up with about 122. So maybe we chop in this region before we make our way up to the 2272. And then to revert back over here, if you pull it down to the lower part of this leg, the 1618 is exactly where we're stopped at right now on the larger scale. And price looks like it could potentially land in the 2618 to the 2272. So we'll see where things take us, of course. And if you draw it out even further, the 1618 for this entire leg up would be sitting at 162. And then if we move it up to this leg, 1618 is sitting at 150. So maybe between 140 and 170 before we have a larger correction, not a major correction, but potentially. I mean, it could always ramp up and just continue to just blow right past these levels, but we'll see where price goes. And then we have the dollar looking very bearish, which is very bullish for Bitcoin. We're hoping to see a target of low 90s. Ideally, have that red zone drawn out. Not saying that it's going to hit that, but that would line up with these bottoms here, which kind of line up with Bitcoin's tops in 2021 and 2017. If you were to overlay Bitcoin, you could see that. Put it on the log scale, you can see that that bottom was pretty close to this top here, and this bottom here in the dollar is before we see our top here. But within a couple weeks, it's not too far of a time frame difference. So let's see what happens here. Hopefully we can make it. If we make it all the way down there and it's not because of a poor economic situation, then that would be a very good thing. But if we can kind of just slowly grind down and make it sub 95, that would be very, very bullish for Bitcoin and other risk assets. And MSTR divided by Bitcoin, kind of been struggling against Bitcoin, but we are just touching the trend line that we have drawn out. So I guess it's kind of expected in a way, because we have two trend lines, because things are mostly a zone. They're never really just one direct line. Like, you can get away with a single line, but things are typically in a zone. So I have two lines drawn out for kind of like a trend line zone. And this is that secondary trend line that we've seen these touches down here. So, and it looks like we got a touch here and an engulfing candle back to 39. So let's see if it can push up higher. But MSTR these past 2 trading weeks and now 3rd trading week has been underperforming Bitcoin. So we definitely want to see it ramp up like this. We want to see another move like that. But we were trending upward, all the way up until the week of April 28th, and then just this past month, of May, we've been kind of struggling. But I can see MSTR just ramping back up, get the MNAV up a little bit higher. It's currently sitting at like 2.05, if I'm not mistaken, last time I checked. But still overall bullish on MSTR. I still think we can see much higher prices. So we'll see where things take us. The same thing that I've always been talking about. When you measure out this bull flag, it takes us somewhere in this region. So anywhere from, 950 to 1200, 1300 bucks, somewhere in this region. So that's all I have for you guys. Like and subscribe, share with a friend. I'll see you guys in the next one.